Shibuzo was the only child of Mamankem, a strong, determined, and sometimes overbearing woman. Life had not been easy for her. She had lost her husband when Shibuzo was just a little boy and had struggled alone to raise him. She worked tirelessly, doing everything in her power to provide for him, ensuring that he lacked nothing. As Shibuzo grew, Mamankem became his entire world, and he, in turn, became her only reason for living. She had poured her heart and soul into raising him, shaping him into a hardworking and successful man. In her eyes, no woman would ever be good enough for the son she had suffered for. A mother's grip. Whenever Shibuzo brought home a woman he was interested in, his mother would find fault with her. If she was light-skinned, Mamankem would say, "These fair women are too beautiful. They attract too much attention from men, and they can never be loyal." If the woman was dark-skinned, she would sigh, "My son, do you want your children to be too dark? Beauty is important. Find someone more presentable." If the woman was too educated, Mamankem would shake her head. "Highly educated women are too proud. They will never respect you as the man of the house." And if the woman came from a humble background, she would scoff, "Poor women are desperate, my son. She only wants you for your money." No matter who Chibuzo introduced, Mamankem had a perfect excuse to reject them. Years passed, and all of Chibuzo's friends got married and started families. He watched them play with their children, celebrate their anniversaries, and live happily with their wives. Deep inside, he longed for the same joy. But because of his mother's interference, he remained a lonely bachelor. Love at first sight. One evening, after a long day at work, fate led Shibuzo to Adawara. He was driving home when he saw a terrible accident on the roadside. A car had crashed badly, and the driver was severely injured, sitting helplessly on the ground. To Shibuzo's shock, no one stopped to help people, just drove past, minding their own business. Just as he was about to park and assist, he saw a young woman rush out of her car and run toward the injured man. She didn't hesitate. She knelt beside him, wiped the blood from his forehead, and spoke to him with so much care. Then, she flagged down a taxi, helped the injured man into it, and instructed the driver to take him to the nearest hospital. Shibuzo watched in amazement. He had never seen such selflessness from a stranger. Who was this woman? Curious, he followed the taxi to the hospital. When the woman stepped out, he approached her. "That was a very kind thing you did," he said, smiling. Adawara turned and returned his smile warmly. Helping others is important. We never know when we'll need help ourselves. From that moment, Shibuzo knew he had found the woman he wanted to spend his life with. A blossoming love. Shibuzo and Adawara became close. They spent time together, shared their dreams, and built a deep connection. Adawara was not only beautiful, but also kind, humble, and intelligent. She had a way of making people around her feel safe and loved. For the first time in his life, Shibuzo felt ready to settle down. He was convinced that Adawara was the woman for him. One evening, he sat his mother down and said, "Mama, there is someone I want you to meet. Her name is Adawara, and I love her." Mamankem's face darkened immediately. "I hope she is from a good family," she muttered. "She is a wonderful woman, Mama." "Please, just meet her first," Shibuzo pleaded. Reluctantly, Mamankem agreed to the meeting. The instant rejection. The day finally came. Adawara dressed modestly and came with gifts to show respect. The moment she stepped into Mamankem's house, however, everything changed. Mamankem's expression turned cold. She barely greeted Adawara and refused to look at her. As soon as Adawara left, she turned to Chibuzo and delivered her verdict. "I don't like her," she said sharply. "But Mama, you haven't even spoken to her." How can you judge her so quickly? Shibuzo protested. She has a bad aura. I can sense it. That woman will bring you nothing but sorrow. Shibuzo felt his heart sink. He had been expecting resistance, but not such harsh rejection. For the first time in his life, he made a firm decision against his mother's wishes. Mama, I love Adalora. She will be my wife, whether you approve or not. A secret curse and a mother's desperation. A few months later, Adalora became pregnant. Shibuzo hoped that this news would finally soften his mother's heart. But instead of joy, Mom Kem was furious. No son of mine will marry that woman, she screamed. Shibuzo was shocked. Mama, she is carrying my child. Why can't you just accept her? Mama Kem said nothing. She simply walked away. But deep inside, she was harboring a terrifying secret. Years ago, in her desperation to have a child, Mama Kem had made a deal with the river goddess. The goddess had granted her a son, but in return, she had given her a warning. You will not live to see your grandchildren. If your son ever has children, your life will be taken. Now that moment had come. Desperate to escape her fate, Mom Kem returned to the river goddess. Goddess, please. My son has impregnated a woman. What can I do? She begged. The river goddess laughed coldly and handed her a large mirror. Give them this mirror as a wedding gift. Through it, you will watch their home. And when the time comes, you will be able to destroy any child she tries to bring into this world. A wedding gift that would bring misery. On their wedding day, Mom Kem wrapped the cursed mirror beautifully. It was covered in golden fabric and decorated with bright flowers, making it look like a wonderful blessing. When she presented it to the couple, they accepted it happily, believing it was a gift from a loving mother. Thank you, Mama. Adalora smiled, not knowing that their nightmare had just begun. The tragic miscarriages began. The newlyweds settled into their home, placing the beautiful mirror in their living room. Their love grew stronger, and they eagerly anticipated the birth of their first child. But strange things began happening. One night, Adalora woke up feeling a sharp, unbearable pain in her stomach. She screamed in agony, waking Shibuzo. He rushed her to the hospital, but it was too late. She had suffered a miscarriage. The doctors were baffled. They assured the couple that Adalora was in perfect health and that there was no medical reason for the miscarriage. Shibuzo and Adalora were heartbroken, but they found comfort in each other and decided to try again. However, each time Adalora conceived, the same thing happened. By the fourth miscarriage, the couple was drowning in sorrow. Adalora fell into deep depression, blaming herself for their misfortune.
Shibuzo, though devastated, tried to be strong for her.
Meanwhile, Mom Kem continued her charade, pretending to be concerned and sympathetic, when in reality, she was the cause of Adalora's pain. Every night, while the couple slept peacefully, Mom Kem would step through the cursed mirror, unseen and unheard, and stab Adalora's womb with an invisible spiritual dagger. Each time, she returned home satisfied, knowing she had once again prevented the birth of her grandchild and, in doing so, postponed her own death. A mother's deception. After the fourth miscarriage, Mom Kem made her next move. My son, can you see? This woman is cursed, she told Shibuzo. She keeps losing all your children? I warned you from the start, but you refused to listen. Shibuzo was conflicted. His mother's words planted seeds of doubt in his heart. But when he looked at Adalora weak, exhausted, and shattered, he knew he could never abandon her. No, Mama. Adalora is not cursed. We will keep trying, he said firmly. Mom Kem clenched her fists in anger, but she hid it behind a forced smile. "I just want what's best for you, my son." "Think about it," she said sweetly, but deep down, she was furious that her plan hadn't worked yet. Adaora's suspicion. One evening, Adawara sat in the living room, staring at the large mirror Mama and Kem had gifted them. Something about it felt wrong. She had always believed in the power of dreams and visions, and lately she had been having strange visions of a shadowy figure entering their bedroom at night. One night, after completing her midnight prayers, she turned to the mirror and froze in horror. The glass was no longer a reflection, it had turned into a liquid portal, rippling like water. In the eerie glow, Adawara saw her mother-in-law's face, staring back at her with cold, evil eyes. And then, she saw something even more terrifying, a dark figure holding a dagger, stepping out of the mirror, heading towards her womb. Adawara screamed. The vision disappeared instantly, and the mirror returned to normal. Shibuzo rushed into the room, startled by her cries. "Adawara, what is it?" he asked. Trembling, she pointed at the mirror. "Shibuzo, something is wrong with that mirror. I saw your mother in it. I think she's the one behind my miscarriages." Shibuzo's face darkened. He had been patient, but accusing his mother of witchcraft was too much. "Adawara, I know you're in pain, but accusing my mother? That's ridiculous. I swear, Shibuzo, I saw her. The mirror." "Enough," Shibuzo snapped. "I will not sit here and listen to you insult my mother." Tears filled Adawara's eyes. She knew what she had seen, but Shibuzo refused to believe her. Escape and discovery. That night, as Shibuzo slept, Adawara made a decision. She could no longer stay in this house. If Shibuzo wouldn't protect her, she had to protect herself and her unborn child. She quietly packed her bags and left, returning to her parents' home without telling anyone. The next morning, Mom and Kem entered the house through the mirror as usual, but Adawara was gone. Her rage knew no bounds. "Where is she?" she hissed. She searched the house, but there was no sign of Adawara. Furious, she called Shibuzo and asked in a fake sweet voice, "My son, where is Adawara?" Her suspicion raised alarm bells in Shibuzo's mind. He had not told anyone that Adawara was gone, so why was his mother suddenly asking about her? For the first time, he started to suspect something was wrong. He walked into their bedroom, staring at the mirror. He thought about all the strange coincidences, how every pregnancy ended the same way, how Adawara saw something in the mirror before leaving. Taking a deep breath, he lifted the mirror and carried it outside. Then he smashed it into pieces. At that exact moment, Mom and Kem screamed from her house. The curse backfires. Mama Nekem clutched her head as excruciating pain shot through her body. She collapsed, shaking violently, and began confessing everything. "I did it. I caused the miscarriages. I made a deal with the river goddess. I didn't want to die," she wailed. Her secret was out. At the same time, Shibuzo's phone rang. It was Adawara. "Shibuzo, I just gave birth. We have twins, a boy and a girl," she cried joyfully. Tears filled Shibuzo's eyes. But at the sound of the baby's cries, Mom and Kem convulsed violently. A thick white foam poured from her mouth, and within seconds, she was dead. The river goddess had come to collect her debt. A new beginning. Shibuzo rushed to the hospital to see his wife and newborns. As he held them in his arms, he finally understood everything: his mother's curse, her deception, and the true reason why she never wanted him to have children.
A kingdom under shadow. Long ago, in a land where the sun bathed the earth in golden light, and the rivers sang songs of life, there was a kingdom called Nyabira. It was a land of beauty, where the baobab trees stood like ancient guardians and the people lived in harmony with nature. At the heart of Nyabira stood a mighty baobab known as Anzuri, the whispering giant, said to hold the wisdom of 1,000 generations. But despite Nyabira's beauty, a shadow loomed over the land. Deep in the cursed forest, a monstrous leopard named Zubiri ruled with terror. No hunter, warrior, or magician had ever returned after seeking to challenge him. Legends whispered that he was once a man, cursed by the gods for his greed. It was said that Zubiri could not be killed, for his life force was bound to an ancient magic hidden deep within the forest. The Orphan and the Prophecy. In a village on the edge of Nyabira,